Hey, welcome to the new season of the Retro Rewind podcast. This season, we're calling it 2 Men in a Podcast. I'm Matt Nastos. You guys know me from film and television and comic books. And then with me, I've got Max. Max, tell me about yourself.
I am.
What brings you here today?
What brings me here is my love of the 80s and 90s and 70s.
Fuck the 60s, though.
The 60s are good. No, the 60s, we wouldn't be here. Someone was having a good time in the 60s, right? to give rise to the 70s. But no, I'm happy to join you and reminisce, talk, explain why the 80s and those surrounding decades they could go toe to toe with any single one. And just want to reminisce, look back, and have some fun.
Cool. And one of the reasons I wanted Max on here is because he's in New York. He grew up in New York. I grew up in Hawaii. That's about as far as you can get in the U.S. away from each other. I mean, you're not in Maine, but pretty close.
Yeah,
and we still had, and again, all Gen Xers will feel this way, but we still had very similar upbringings. You know, we still watched a lot of the same shows. You know, like anytime I talk about something, he's like, "Oh yeah, me too," or he'll say something and it'll be the same thing. And it's weird how Gen X is very different from a lot of the other generations, and that we have these connections, you know, through pop culture and through the things that we were going through that a lot of the other generations don't have, especially the ones after us, which were a lot more fragmented. But I love the fact that, again, we're 6,000-7,000 miles apart, and we still had the same basic memories and I bet any urban legends that I heard as a kid, you probably heard them. Like, you know, what happened to Mikey from Life Cereal? Do you know what happened? What was the urban legend about Mikey from Life Cereal?
I thought he became Michael Myers, a serial killer.
Well, the thing that I keep hearing is everybody seems to have heard the same thing, is that he died by mixing Coke and Pop Rocks.
And his stomach exploded.
Yeah, and then his stomach exploded. So
yeah, I mean, I never attempted. The closest I had it, I put it in my mouth, and it felt like a 9-volt. You know,
so you never died?
Like a 9-volt. No, it didn't die. I even did it with in my mouth without swallowing, but I took in a nickel. I thought that there was maybe going to be some sort of conduction going on. So I remember swallowing the nickel and nothing came about.
It was supposed to be a penny. Copper's more conductive.
Exactly. And the tripwire and all that.
So much like Clinton in the 90s, when he said he smoked pot but never inhaled.
Oh, the Clinton pull.
You put Pop Rocks in your mouth, but you never swallowed.
Right, exactly. You know?
Is that how you saved your political career?
Right. No, otherwise it's right down the tubes. You know, you could do anything half-assed, but if you do it all the way, no one's going to elect you. You know, so, you know, that's, you got to learn, how to please the crowd.
That's true. But wouldn't swallowing be the way to please? No, we won't get into that.
Well, it depends. Are we liking or loving what we're doing?
So let's see. What's going on this week? Oh, I know what I wanted to talk about. John Candy, I Like Me.
John Candy.
Dropped, I think, about a week ago now. I think it dropped last week. And
should have been in the movies. I would have paid.
Oh, absolutely. You know, I was surprised that it was free. It's on Amazon Prime for anybody that's a Prime member. Although today Prime is out, right? Or Amazon AWS has a big outage. But normally you could watch it on Amazon Prime, and it's free for subscribers, which I thought was great. And that movie was really cool. John Candy, you know, one of the things that I've learned running Retro Rewind over the last 2 years is John Candy is one of the kind of the most beloved guys of the 80s, the 90s, a little bit in the 70s, but I don't really remember him from the 70s. But you know, he's one of the most beloved actors. Like, I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him. And that's actually a joke in the documentary, is Bill Murray's trying to come up with something that's shitty to say about him, and he can't. And then he just talks about him overacting one time. He's like, "Oh yeah, I remember that time he was I forget what he called it, but he was like, you know, he was overacting in this scene."
Yeah. He was Vincent D'Onofrioing it, you know.
Yeah.
In Law and Order. No, but that really struck me, Murray, having that reaction. I never really saw him. I met Bill Murray way back in the day. I'll share my Bill Murray story another time, but it was really surprising to see how emotional when he said, you know, I can't think of John Candy, or, you know, I can't bring up his name without, you know, coming to tears, you know, I didn't know that they were that close. You know, because you always associate Murray with the people that he, you know, on Saturday Night Live or Ghostbusters realm, or so it was. That was a phenomenal documentary.
Well, they were. Right, I mean, if you watch the, not you, but if the viewing audience watches the documentary, they'll see that they were in some of the comedy stuff together. Was Bill Murray in Second City at all? I don't remember.
No,
I know he was in SNL, but I know that it showed like different plays or stuff that they were in together early on before either one of them was big.
Yeah, no, it's a testament to social media and how everything is uncovered. If they were actively, you know, in it today in terms of their age, and we would know everything about them, you know. But it was really surprising finding out the depth of like, because I grew up with John Candy. You figure I know John Candy. I know him. Hey, he's, you know, the way you sort of you have that connection with celebrities, you know, but. It was just weird. And then to think that they had that whole other career when we were starting out, you know, much like the circuit in America, you know, the stand-up circuit. You see all the people in the background. It made me think that they really evolved from real acting, being on those shows where you have to perform. Otherwise, the audience is a very short attention span, you know, with those formats.
Yeah, it was, but it was crazy in that every other celebrity you hear about, there's something bad comes up at some point. Yeah. You know, whether it's overblown or not, but you know, you get these things where people say, "Oh yeah, I met him. He was a dick," or, you know, "He did this, he did that." And I've never heard anybody, like really anybody, say anything about John Candy. You know, I'll get the wise ass, you know, troll comments where be like, "Oh well, he should have eaten better. He should have." I'm like, yeah, come on, like, you know. But it's like, okay, and that's actually one of the interesting, one of the one of the interesting things where he's talking about how, you know, he wanted to get healthier and all that stuff, but then the industry is telling him they want the funny fat guy. And, you know, personally, I connected with that because I had a buddy back when I first moved and I started working for the Sci-Fi Channel. I had a buddy, his name was Eric Edwards, and he was in Sergeant Bilko, the movie, and he was in Blade the Vampire Hunter. He was the giant fat, I don't know if you saw Blade the Vampire Hunter, but there's like a giant fat vampire in it that's laying down. But he was a funny fat guy, and he was getting tons of roles. His career was coming up, and he decided to lose weight and get healthy because, you know, he was, I don't know, 5'4" and, you know, 325 pounds or something, which is unsustainable, really. So he's like, I'm going to get healthy. And his manager told him, don't do it. You're going to kill your career. And he lost weight and his career, he disappeared. Yeah, and it's true. So. Like when I saw that, I was like, that's true. It's like if somebody's the tubby, funny guy, they want you to stay that way because they know how to sell you. So if he lost weight, he knew that his career could go away no matter how good he was. And it's eventually what killed him, you know, is his health. But it was like kind of a little heartbreaking in that you hear him saying, you know, you hear the family talking about how he was in bad shape and, you know, like he was addicted to food and alcohol and cigarettes and all that stuff, but he couldn't get away from it because that's how he was supporting everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And he probably, you know, making people laugh like that, the joy that he might you know, must have been bringing to people, you know, you do what it is that can sustain you. And, it was, you know, you talked about him being addicted, you know, but it's weird how like it works in reverse. You know, you're okay with people losing weight and whatnot, and you never really think that there's someone suffering there trying to better themselves. And you have the industry pushing back so hard. You know, you think of Kate Moss and the anorexia, but, you know, that pressure that people feel. And he was a normal 80s guy. You know, he was going through that. And I think that a lot of, I think one of the things that I could connect with in that documentary was he had all those, you know, I'm not an overweight actor who is struggling with all of those, you know, that background history, but I could understand, you know, the pressures of fitting in, you know, and in the 80s, this is, I think, what makes us very unique is that, you know, you went through your shit and, you know, you didn't wear it on your sleeve. You know, he was that regular guy going through a lot of emotional things that at the time no one really spoke about. And, you know, like they have that part in the documentary where they're speaking about his weight, you know, like it's just a topic to talk about since you're here. you know, and he's going along with it. But, you know, you could see that behind that smile, you know, there was, you know, in the brevity of that moment, you could tell, like, yeah, he's just laughing it off. You know, and I don't know how many people would have noticed that at the time, you know, or thought about
Yeah,
that
you
at
can
the time.
definitely tell in those interviews, and it's you can tell it's something he's not comfortable with because his career. Because a lot of people compare him to Farley, you know, Chris Farley, but I think and we talked about this before. They're two totally different. I mean, they're not really relatable, other than the fact that they're both big dudes. But Candy
Right.
never really did anything. Like none of his comedy was based on his weight. Like it never made fun of him as a fat guy. You know, none of it. Like other than, you know, I think they talked about Stripes, and he said he was really uncomfortable with it, you know, with doing it. But other than that, there was never really a reference to his weight. You know, there was reference to like smoking and drinking and all that stuff.
Yeah, and maybe like
but he
bad
did
health and whatnot, and you know,
but he
I'm
didn't
burning.
make fun of his weight. And so when, you know, when he would go on these interview shows and they would bring up him being a fat dude, you could tell it's like, you know, that's not my career. That's not what I'm doing. That's got nothing to do with nothing. So why are
I'm
we
not
talking
trying
about
out for fat person roles.
Yeah.
You know, that's not the first thing that they're asking for, you know. And he proved that he could be a leading guy. You
Yeah.
know, in Summer
Multiple
Rental,
times, yeah.
he was still the jealous husband. You know, in those times, he was, you know, the classic these movies where you have to see boobs, and there was nothing really wrong with it. You know,
That's how I live my life today. Got to see boobs.
It's why
Most
we
of the
watch
time they're
80s
mine,
movies.
but still.
Sometimes I catch them when I'm walking by. You know, depending on what I'm wearing. Not as fun.
Yeah, it's just that, and everybody, you know, anybody that's seen it has said if you're going to watch it with, you know, with some tissue, because it is a little sad because, you know, you've got this guy that was going around trying to make everybody happy, and he died alone, which sucks. You know, they said, you know, they found him alone in his bed with his kids and his wife, you know, in a different room. You know, that
Just
I
went
don't. I
like
mean, I
that.
don't know that I want to die around my kids, but you know,
And maybe
it's
a
like, you know,
slow
he's alone.
progression. Yeah, you know, or where I could say you could leave now. You know, if I'm fortunate enough, you know. But no,
Now I
that
want to make
was
him
and
watch
then
it.
right, and
Sit
I know,
down.
come exactly. Take notes. I'll be back. You know, full 80s to the no. But you know, I think that also sometimes you say things out loud because you want to put it out there so it doesn't happen. So I'm certain that over everybody's shoulder in his life was his losing his father at that young age. You know, his brother had a heart attack. You know, his brother was suffering from, you know, issues, same issues, but prior to him mentioning or exhibiting it. And then you start thinking, well, it's not going to happen to me. And then maybe you cross the line of when I think his father passed. How old was it?
He
Did
was
he
pretty
die?
young.
He was younger than John Candy, right? So you pass that threshold, you're thinking, all right, I'm good. And then just like that. And then of course you're thinking, well, look at his weight and look at his habits. Yeah, that's fantastic. But I also know, you know, who is it? Gary Busey.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Gary
don't know what
Busey.
he's made of. You know?
I'm pretty sure Gary Busey has died at least once and they brought him back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're thinking about conspiracies about people not being themselves, and that's just like a clone to keep it going. I don't know what real like dominance keeps going by having Busey alive, but I could imagine that someone swapped him out a few times, you know.
Well,
Or that he has
it's
a
a bad
battery.
Xerox. He's just the proof that a Xerox of a Xerox is a little messed up because that dude's
But he
crazy.
is. Yeah.
I follow
And
him
I
on
love him in
Instagram
every
just
role
'cause he's funny.
that he's been in. You know, but
Mr.
his
Joshua.
son is also funny. He's just oh man. And I saw what was that? What did I see the other day? With Corey Haim, Howling. The Howling when
Silver
he's
Bullet.
in the wheelchair. Yeah. Oh, Silver Bullet. Yep.
Silver Bullet.
I was like, I love this movie. I remember, you know, not going for a moment thinking it'd be cool to have a wheelchair with motor with that goes like 50 miles an hour. I was like, nah,
I wish
actually,
my
no.
legs didn't work.
Yeah, you know what? Maybe you want a motorcycle or you know a bike downhill. You know,
Yeah.
start small before you commit. You know, something so permanent.
That was a great movie. But going back to John Candy, what was the first thing you remember him in?
A Splash.
Okay.
I was 9 years old and I saw it in the movie theater, the Drake movie theater on Woodhaven Boulevard in Queens. 9 years old, saw Splash. And it's him. It was him and Tom Hanks for a while. I'm in love. I mean, I've told you before. I was obsessed with that movie, with Daryl Hannah. I think sort of the way it starts off with him being young, you know. And I've always been a melodramatic. You know, I'm a Cancer, a big mama's boy, three older sisters. So I had all the makings of, the high sock suit wearing boy with the gigantic glasses. And I thought to myself, you know what? Mermaids are not of this planet, so they will look past the geekiness.
There you go. Mermaids have bad taste in men.
Yep. But no, John Candy, I remember trying that trick, but it never really working because the skirts would have to be mini. And I couldn't get that low without it not looking obvious. But that movie, and I thought his character was loving, endearing. And even at that age, I remember that moment in the movie where it's a break from comedy, where he's telling him, I'll never be that happy. It's sort of a little cheesy, cringy when you're watching it now because it's an 80, but the fact that they injected it in there and that he did it, and he did it well, outside of the movie itself and the fantasy of it and everything else, there he was breaking out, but splash for me.
And they just worked as brothers too. Because they were supposed to be brothers and partners and all that stuff. And I went and rewatched it again, I think about a year ago, and I was like, I still believe that they're brothers. It's like, that works. Like,
and the
everything
DNA
that
worked
they
that
did.
way.
Yeah. Everything that they did worked. For me, the first time I remember him was probably Stripes. I saw Stripes way too young. I think I was 9, maybe 8 when Stripes came out, I think in like 81, 82, something like that. And I remember Stripes. My dad took me to see Stripes. So I remember him from that. I don't remember him because he was in 1941 before that. He was in Blues Brothers. I didn't see those until later, like a few years later when they were on cable, running on HBO 24/7. But I remember him in that. And then I didn't know it was him, but I saw Heavy Metal that same summer. And he did a couple of voices in Heavy Metal. I didn't know it was him, though. But I was a huge fan of Heavy Metal. I just didn't know that was John Candy. But Stripes is one of my favorite movies. And he was in that. National Lampoon's Vacation came out. And he was in that. I remember him from that. But yeah, the Moose Out Front should have told you. And then, Splash, Brewster's Millions.
Brewster's Millions. $10 million. I'm
going to say something, and this is not a political thing. I don't know how I'm going to recover from saying that. Okay. Because we grew up in the 80s, Donald Trump is different for us. It's two different people. It's two different guys. When I heard that Donald Trump was going to run for president, what was it, 2015, 2016, whenever that was?
Early 2015.
I thought he was doing a bit. I thought it was Brewster's Millions. And I thought he was going to run and then be like, oh, fuck you guys, I'm just kidding. Like, because I was such a huge fan of Brewster's Millions. That's what I was expecting. Because you got a guy from New York running for an office that he probably wasn't qualified for. I mean, it's, is anybody really qualified to be president? I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, exactly. What does your resume really have to be when people
But
say
yeah, that's not a political thing. I was expecting, fuck you guys, I'm kidding.
Yeah, and here we are, intro into, the sequel.
But yeah, that's not a political thing. That's just I thought we were going for Brewster's Millions.
Hey, no. And then you got to give it up to Brewster's Millions.
You mentioned Summer Rental, and that same summer he did another Tom Hanks movie with Volunteers, where he was Tom Tuttle from Tacoma, Washington. And I just love that movie. And, him and Tom Hanks are always great. I wish they had done more. Because
they worked really well. Yeah, they almost had that the connection of Pryor and Gene Wilder. Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, where, how would you think that they would become friends? When you think about where would they have met, Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor? I got that same energy, with that pair.
Well, it's the interesting thing is Hanks talks about Splash in the documentary, and he says that he didn't really meet him before that.
Yeah.
And so he said that was his first experience, and he said that he loved the way Candy, because Candy came up on improv, like he was an improv guy. And he said the way that Candy improved, but didn't try and show anybody up. He was trying to make the scene better anytime he did improv. Versus somebody, and again, I love, Robin Williams, or you love, Jim Carrey, or like the masters of improv. But they kind of take over. And, John Candy, you can see he's playing. So he's giving easy pitches, he's giving hard pitches, and, he's playing back and forth. And Tom Hanks was, decent enough at the time that he was able to go with it. And then by Volunteers, like a lot of that was ad-libbed between the two of them, a lot of their bits. And, like there was a lot of, you have to have a lot of respect and trust for somebody to do improv like that. Because again, if you say something, they can make you look stupid real fast, or they can leave you hanging. But those two guys had a lot of trust and a lot of, love. But the thing is,
to be an actor's dream, a co-star's dream to be with, and easy to direct. Like you said, always contributing to it, not boasting or not trying to be that person ahead of the game or stepping in and disrupting. Maybe if he disrupted, he wanted to make it, like you said, want to make it better. But and a good physical comedy, for a big guy, and I hate saying that for a big guy because then I feel as condescending as some of them. But I think maybe that's where him and Farley are a lot different. Farley, I felt like, was always throwing himself in some sort of way.
Yeah, he was. But
John Candy he was an elegant guy.
Yeah,
elegant guy, and one of the things that he did.
I think he had I want to call it. He had the dad switch, where he could be the funny, fun-loving guy, but then he would, he'd throw the switch, and he was a dad or an uncle, and he had the authority. And even though he was a fun-loving dude, you still he had a presence. He had a presence that was funny and that was serious, and it worked because not everybody can do that. I couldn't see Farley, being a serious dude, having a gravitas. And Candy, if you go back and you watch Uncle Buck, or you watch almost anything that he was in, Splash, and he had that sense of real, he was a real dude. He was silly, but he was a real silly. And he wasn't ever, he did parody and he did all that stuff, but for the most part, he was real, and you felt
it was a deep. They were all deep characters because you could tell that he cared about his brother. Yeah, he didn't just want to help his brother get laid. When he realized that he was in love with this person, he was actually smoothing it up. Well, no problem. She went through some sharks. Then she made it to shore. She's good. She's all right. And he's just trying to let him know it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be okay, no matter what. And that looseness that could be. If he's costing you the family business, if he's costing you a relationship, that's the biggest pain that there could be. But on the opposite end, if it's to help and to, could you see it? Let's say they're both great actors. Could you see them switching roles? And one playing the other. He was meant to be that brother, the excess brother, that does have regrets. But that's not what the movie's about. The movie's about this brother not having maybe the same regrets. So
similar. A similar thing to Trains, Planes, and Automobiles. Similar kind of dynamic.
That was a brilliant movie and brilliantly acted by both of them.
Absolutely.
And every even cameo was perfect. Like Groundhog's Day, similar vibe of everything they stuck in there. But that the Planes, Trains.
Yeah, just fantastic movie. I would say the only downside for me and Candy's acting resume is I could not stand Wagons East, and I feel bad that was kind of. He had other movies that came out after, like Canadian Bacon was released after. He did it before, but the fact that his last big movie was Wagons East, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you want to be endearing, because I'm glad that you said that, because if people see you, they're going to be like, hey, he's a nice guy. They'll be like, oh, what a dick thing for this. Who the hell is this guy? You said that about John Candy? What the hell is this guy talking about? Why is this schmuck on? No, but I'm glad that you said that, because I'm like,
It was rough.
Rough. What do you, it's like almost a eulogy for the movie. What do you say? You can't say, well, you got to say it was fantastic. Maybe if it would have had, but no, I agree with you. It was a tough one to
it's a tough one to end on. So at least Canadian Bacon came out after. So, there was a little bit there, but yeah, the fact that his last acting, like the movie that he was on when he passed, was that one. Right. Although, honestly, if I was in Wagons East, I'd probably want to, I'd be like, you know what? I can't go on. I'm done. This is
what better ending than to, you really want to spice
this up is as low as it can go.
Story, let's see. An act of God is what else needed.
But there's a ton of really interesting stuff in there. That was one of the better documentaries. I also love it, and this is me name dropping, but I love it because when they first started working on it, or they were in the process of working on it, Ryan Reynolds started following me because I had done a few John Candy posts, and I talked about how like what a positive influence he was and how everybody loved him and all that stuff. So Ryan Reynolds started following me and would pop into lives whenever I was talking about John Candy. And people would be like, "Oh, can we talk about Deadpool?" And he's like, "Fuck that, I'm talking about John Candy. We're talking about John Candy right now." He came on to fanboy out about John Candy, which was awesome. And I was down because I loved, I was a huge John Candy fan. Loved his comedy, loved everything about him. And Reynolds is one of the ones that he did it with. Colin Hanks was the guy that directed it and his co-producer. And yeah, it was great. Just everything about it was great. I wish there was more. Because there were some pieces that they kind of glossed over a little bit, like stuff with his family, like his brother had a heart attack, but then he was still around after. I was a little confused.
Yeah, right.
Like there was some like little pieces that they glossed over.
Yeah, they jumped a little bit.
And then like some of the stuff with Home Alone. I really wanted to know more about he was the same age as John Hughes. And it turned out that they met and they connected and they like bonded. And I guess Candy actually helped him with a bunch of his other movies. Like he was his springboard on like a lot of the writing and the scripts and stuff. And he would be the one that Hughes would show early screenings of the movies to see how he reacted. And I would love to have heard more about those two, because that's about as 80s as you can get, John Candy and John Hughes. I mean,
right.
You have to throw in Marty McFly to make it completely 80s, but you have those two guys, and that's like, I want to hear more about those two guys hanging out.
Yeah, and the way Macaulay Culkin, he shouted that out right in the middle. Like, you think, I did these amount of movies, and you think Molly Ringwald, but he did, and you're sitting there like, look at me, I was today's years old when I made the mathematics of it.
You never thought about it.
Yeah, no, you don't, because everything's always about, those group of people, or Molly Ringwald, which is great. We love those movies, but.
Yeah, it's Molly Ringwald, Breakfast Club, Home Alone, but not. And
they all have that same energy, Uncle Buck.
But yeah, but he was in. So what did they say? Like 9 or 13 John Hughes movies. 9. I mean, that's pretty crazy because nobody else is close.
Yeah, because start counting the John Hughes movies, and as many as you have, you're gonna get run out. And I'm pretty certain that's a huge chunk.
But both of those guys died fairly young. I don't remember when Hughes died, but he was fairly young too.
Yeah,
because he died in the mid or late 90s, and so he would have been not even maybe 50, because I think Candy died at 43, 93, 94, and they were the same age. They were born the same year, and so you had two 80s giants that both passed away pretty young,
and they were able to do their thing and do their thing together before their time was up. So, I mean, but better for us. I always think of what more work they could have done.
Yeah.
How they would have taken, how they could have revisited, Well,
it's interesting to go back and watch a lot of that John Candy stuff now, because I'm older now. I saw it when I was a kid, and you go back and you watch it now, like as a dad and as a guy that's a little bit older, maybe closer to Candy's age, and you're thinking, wow, this is like, that's me, or what I mean, or that's
spot on.
That's my dad.
In
that's
some
me.
respects,
that's.
Like you could find yourself, I've said that, where I could see myself doing that. Well, you know what? That's what I would have done. Yeah.
And I went and watched Uncle Buck again recently, and I hadn't really seen it since it came out. So I saw it when I was 19 or, I don't remember what year Uncle Buck came out, 89. So I would have been 16. And, watching it as an adult is very different, and I'm like, oh, still funny. Yeah, it's like you're not the kid looking, that's the funny uncle, he's funny, Now it's like, oh, that's me,
It was a deeper
I would crush Bug.
Yeah, And I think back of thinking, it makes you think back of what am I going to be when I'm that age? And you're thinking, bingo, check that box off.
What's funny is in my head, he's still older than I am. And now I'm, almost 10 years older. Like in my head, he's older.
It's funny that it's funny you say that, because you have them. I like to call them whammies. Those whammy moments. Whether it's I can't see this, so I got to put on the glasses, or is that an eyebrow? I thought maybe my head is sheds. Our head sheds. So is that no? It's an eye. How did it get that long? Oh, and the other day I had a double whammy. The double whammy is where I'm trying to cut this eyebrow that's so long and I can't see. Yeah. So, I have contacts on, so I need I need glasses with the contact. If I don't have contacts, I just got to take my glasses off.
You got a double wrap.
So you're right. So, but I had a double whammy. I had to use the glasses to cut the long eyebrow, and I'm wondering, my goodness,
That's funny.
But
getting old is rough.
Plug that in. Oh yeah. That's why I sit there and I think to myself, this is what it means to be my age. I got to be that dad. I got to let it roll off my shoulders. You want people to sit there and be like, how did you find that funny? I want to contribute to things are funny. And if we approach them from, how is this funny? We could figure out how to keep it funny.
There you go. And as long as there's boobs.
Absolutely. It never hurts. It's like seasoning. But you could eat the food, and it's still going to fill your belly and give you all the nutrients. But if you want it to taste a little better going down, then you may as well sprinkle it or pepper it with some sort of body part that was an 80s body part.
There you go.
Is that okay? Can I say that without
you could say whatever people? I don't know. I wanted to make sure I was pre-canceled right up front. So then you can just do whatever you want. If you get pre-canceled, you can say whatever you want at that point. You're fine.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to worry about it. Winging it, it's not winging it. It's all scripted.
Yeah. No, the thing, I'm going off on a tangent, so bring me back.
I'm sorry, and I'm dragging you. You keep trying to keep on with the candy, but you know what? It leads you out because he embodies so much,
for sure. But it's you think about how much stuff in the 80s would have been canceled, and people think that, people weren't upset about stuff in the 80s. They were. But if you didn't like something, you changed the channel. You didn't focus on making sure nobody else could watch it. And so that's, I absolutely get cancel culture, but it's a little ridiculous in that you don't want to just stop it for yourself. You want to stop something that you didn't like for everybody. And, that just seems a little weird. It's like, just change the channel if you don't like it. I mean... And obviously, if there's something that's damaging or hurtful or whatever, but still,
Well, there was a pride in not liking something that you didn't like. The same way, there's a yin and a yang, a day and a night for everything. So if you love something, you're going to have pride in pride in hating something. So that's just the way it was. Now you have pride in canceling it and getting it out.
You have pride in making sure nobody else can like it.
Right. And you also were able to tell that, well, that's not real. I don't need to say there doesn't need to be a do not drink label on, because the kids who are going to drink it can't read it. So
taking it another step, though, it's Revenge of the Nerds. People are like, that's an awful, you shouldn't do whatever is going on in there.
That movie gave me hope.
But you have to remember, it's a parable. It's a morality tale. It's not a documentary. It's not a list of things that you should do when you go to college. It's a story that is dealing with, and again, we're talking about a stupid sex comedy, but it's a parable. It's telling you a fictional story that's over the top on purpose to get a point across. Here are people that were downtrodden and they fought back. That's really the whole thing. And that everybody is the same, really, when it comes down to it. That's kind of what the Revenge of the Nerds was about.
Right. And, limits of creations.
It's everything else. It's humor. It's over the top. It's funny. It's okay that there's some things in there that are upsetting, or, you always hear people like, oh, I can't watch a movie if a dog gets hurt in it. And I'm like, the dog's not really getting hurt. It's fictional.
And in real life,
and if it's an ugly dog or like a poodle or something, it's fine. If it's a chihuahua and it dies, nobody really cares. Nobody cares.
Exactly. It's all relative. No, but we were able to tell the difference between real and not real. And there was a pride in making that choice, I think. And the truth is, what I got out of the, Revenge of the Nerds, I didn't sit there and I didn't think to myself to put cameras in bathrooms or in the dorms or in the rooms. I didn't think of
Chuck Berry did, though.
Hey, it preceded, right? Porky's. Was it Porky's? What was it? What was that with the eye hole? And they were always looking at the showers, right? I forgot my point. Wait, hold on.
You were talking about what you took out of Revenge of the Nerds, and you weren't going to really put cameras.
It gave me hope that I was, yeah, man. Look, I was Geekanistan, population me. So I'm thinking those type of movies made me feel like I could be cool. I could win the battle. You could even get the girl at the end. But, I I don't know. I wasn't trying to take over the world, but it's, I think for a kid growing up, it made you laugh. You saw those characters and that type of interaction, even if it's outrageous, you understood that that's on TV. Even I thought wrestling was real, and maybe Santa Claus could have been out there, but you also knew he was an actor. Even though I didn't think it was weird. It's weird. We were innocent, but we just were a little bit more savvy. Like they say, we were 30 when we were 10. So I guess that's what's coming into play and why everything worked and why it wouldn't work now. But I think it's the people, not the product.
Yeah. You didn't. I think everybody's a little too. I want to say literal. Maybe it's like. Like people going off on, they're not practicing good gun etiquette or whatever it is. And it's like because they've got their finger on the trigger in a movie poster. And they're like, I couldn't go watch that because, they had their hand. I'm like, dude, it's a movie poster about Predator or what, you know what I mean? Right. It's like, yeah, that's what you got the problem with.
And that they smoked cigarettes. I'm like, smoking a cigarette still? We're still on that? It's just some of the stuff that they fixate on. It's like, it's a movie. It's not real. It's people get rewarded for pointing those things out. That's why they continuously look for them. And after a while, I think eyes are trained to look for the error or look for the argument. Well, you also get the people that heard it on the internet or read it somewhere, and then they're pretending they're the ones that found it. Now, back in the 80s, if you spotted like an inconsistency or something, you'd joke about it. You'd be like, "Oh yeah, look, this or this," and then it was funny. Yeah. But now it's like they get angry about it, and they're like, "Oh, in the Terminator, right before he goes through right after he says I'll be back and he drives through the wall, it's like, look, the lights are on there, but they're not on there." And you could tell that it's a dummy. The cop's face moves forward, and it looks like a dummy. I'm thinking, and why are you looking at that? Yeah, it was a naked Austrian robot. I mean, you got a problem with the lights in the car being on? Yeah, like really? Have you watched the movie? I don't know where any of that came from, but no, I mean, look, it's just making a point why the 80s were better. Yeah, that's what, true. Would some of our beloved movies and actors and even toys make it now? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the toys though, because all the toys are coming back. There's companies now that I can't wait for the slapping ball. Those loud balls that go gash, 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 on the string. Yeah. I just remember cracking my knuckles trying to do it. Like they cheated and they put sticks on them. I don't remember what they were called. Yeah, but they had strings. The real ones had strings, so you really needed to. I just almost knocked over my leg, but you really needed to. It was like nunchucks. You weren't effing around. You practiced nunchucks. You were hitting something on your body. Those balls really busted you when you hit them. Yeah. They're bringing back. Like all the GI Joe figures are back. He-Man's back in like 15 different forms. Thundercats are back. Like everything's coming back. Cats. And it's for us because kids don't care about that stuff. It's kind of for us and for the comic shop owners who go and they raid Walmarts and buy all the stuff out and then jack up the price on eBay or their comic shops. But I'm tired of spending money on new things. You know what I mean? I want new old things. Yeah, let them bring. But it's all I'm there. Spending. Yeah, because those are the things that I don't have. Nowadays it's like if you buy one, you basically have it. Like I'm not going to get an iPhone and the newest Galaxy. I'm not going to get the, or that and that. So here it's bring out those, I want the Matchbox cars now to come out, but make them a bit better. Yeah, but that's actually what they're doing is a lot of the people, a lot of Gen Xers, we like to complain about, how everything was better back then. But the toys now are fantastic. Like I've got, I don't know if you can see it, but I've got like a He-Man and a Skeletor right over here. Those are new versions and they look great. We're going on a little side quest, but so I've got this He-Man figure. Look at that. It brings back memories. But he doesn't look like the original He-Man, but he's still, it's tons of detail. It looks really cool. The Skeletor's badass, but the new toys are cool. I'm a big fan there was a cartoon called Mask. Mobile Armored Strike Command, and they just brought those toys back, and so I'm going to be spending hundreds of way too much money on those things, but they just brought them back. Man. I don't have any of my old toys anymore. My parents sold mine off when I went away to college, and so I'm going and I'm getting them now. I don't know if mine were floating in the East River or if they were given away to like relatives in foreign countries. I was thinking, what happened to them? I salvaged some that I'm scraping up. But no, that's awesome. You want to build that up. I don't know. Looking at them reminds me of, it was real. It makes those memories real. That happened. I remember spending a lot of valuable time figuring the world's problems out with those toys.
Well, the other thing, and I have one of my original toys. This is from probably when I was about seven or eight. It's called a Megabug Scorpion, Megabug Gladiator Scorpion. So this is actually something I bought in about 79. I think I probably got it in 80, so I'd have been 7. I used to get an allowance. My allowance was 25 cents a week. I could work extra for 50 cents. But this thing was $9, $9.99.
Hey, man, that's a lot.
Back then. My parents made me save up for it. So it's just something that I saw in the toy store, and we didn't have Target in Hawaii. We didn't have Target, or we didn't have Walmart or anything like that. We had a place called Gem. It was like a giant department store.
GEM.
GEM. Yep. Like I think here on the mainland they had Gemco maybe, but ours was just called Gem. And so I saw that and I wanted it. It was the coolest thing. I don't know why. I fixated on it. I wanted it as a kid. And my parents made me save for it. They didn't end up making me save, for 20 weeks, which is what it would have been at 25 cents each or what, But I think I saved up about $5 or $6 and they gave me the rest. But I had to earn it. Like they didn't just give me the money and say, go. And they didn't give it to me and tell me I had to work it off later. They were like, if you want it, save your money and work extra hard and and you can afford it. And so I think I hear that from a lot of other Gen X kids where they had to work. Like I got my first job right around that time too. It was in a little bodega in Waipahu, Hawaii, a little tiny bodega store run by a little old Filipino woman named Mrs. Agmata. And I was 7. And she hired me to take people's money and give them snacks and cigarettes and groceries and stuff.
Yeah, she knew you from the neighborhood.
Yeah, but I hear that from a lot of other people. Maybe not that young, but younger than you should have been, really.
Right.
I hear a lot of people that had jobs at 12, 10, 12.
My bodega time was 10, but you touch upon, I spent in the intro, I've always been terrible with intros, and I spent over 20 years in schools, a teacher, administrator.
Hiding in the girls' restroom.
Yeah, right, exactly. And
that's a joke, people.
Popping out, that is a joke because, it is a joke.
You have to tell people that now.
Right, no, exactly, because they don't know you. Because if you laugh at the joke, they just think that you're sadistic. So you can't even laugh and then have people cue in because now you have people proud at laughing at sadistic things. But it's waiting. And I figure, you always delaying gratification is the key to, being at peace. And in psychology and even in like in Buddhism, they say about waiting, letting go, but waiting is a 4-letter word. And if you think about it, our parents made us wait, whether it was for a holiday, made the holiday more meaningful, wait for the weekend, or maybe they just said, not now, and you're going to wait till the next time. And for us, it was waiting, the shows that we had made us wait for the next show and it allowed us to, I think it allowed us to think.
And if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah, that's it. Unless you had a VHS set up to record it, and hopefully there was no power outage, your mother didn't unplug it in order to plug in the vacuum, then plug it back in, and she screwed up your setup. But you were able to think and bargain out, what is the character going to do? Am I right? Am I wrong? And it sort of allowed you to do something else. Now, there's no waiting. They don't figure it out. And I think that instant gratification, sometimes you want to savor it, because if you want to instantly gratify, that means that your climax is going to last really short. You sort of want to ride that comet, not just get there and go. It's, it's a wham bam thank you man now.
It makes,
before it was wine me, dine me.
It makes things more worthwhile too. So you value everything more. If you have to wait for it, you have to pay for it, you have to earn it, then you respect it more. If you're just given it, if it's free on streaming or whatever, then it's not worth as much. And then it's easier to throw away. It's easier to, to discard and forget about. And so I think that's one of the reasons that we, our generation loves our pop culture so much, is because we waited every week for it. and then the next day we would go into school and talk about it. And then we would wait for the next week, or we needed to save our allowance to buy something. Or we would see a trailer that didn't tell us the whole movie. And, we would have to wait a couple of months or whatever to see Predator or Empire Strikes Back or what if Splash. You see the trailer and then you're like, oh, that's cool. But it doesn't tell you that much about the movie. Like trailers used to, people don't get it now, but trailers used to just kind of tease you. I mean,
right. Do you think that the death of the trailer and people appreciating it is because of that? Because they wanted to do something. I was having a conversation last week about, they want to get rid of it. The trailer's in the beginning of the movie and have it just start. I'm like, well, no, man, I pay for my ticket so I can sit and I watch those things on the big screen. Well,
I don't know. I know that the style,
is it me?
How they do trailers now is very different, where you can almost get an entire movie's story from a trailer. Yeah. And that's not how it used to be.
It's not a teaser.
The one I always go back to is Predator. Before Predator was released, we knew that it was a new Arnold Schwarzenegger movie because Arnold was huge. We knew that it was a bunch of guys in the jungle with guns. They showed all of that. And then they showed something killing them. They didn't tell you that it was an alien. They didn't show you the alien. They showed you something that was invisible that they couldn't see, that they didn't know where it was. Somebody was hiding in the tree. You know what I mean? They hinted at what it was, but they never told you. So when I went to see it, I was expecting, and I was super surprised and grateful, but I was just expecting a military movie. Like, oh, they're in there and there's, maybe there's some Indians or something, because they were in the middle of South America. And, I was thinking, oh, maybe it's like native, mercenaries or something killing. I didn't know what it was. They just said something's hunting them. And I was like, oh, maybe it's Rambo. Maybe he's going to fight Rambo. I don't know. And you go and you see the movie and it's like, oh, it's an alien. And at the time it was incredible. And I remember everybody having that reaction, and nowadays you would know right up front that it's an alien, that it's killing people, that it's invisible, that it's got camouflage, that it's got all this stuff. You'd probably even see the ending or a good chunk of the ending. And I think that's ruined how people view this stuff. And it's because of that waiting. They don't want to wait to know what the story is. They want to know what the story is in advance. And it makes it better. It makes it better if you have to wait.
Absolutely.
Or not. I don't know.
No, I agree. And I think that it's catering to people's shorter, they're shortening attention spans. But I used to think that, is the movie that lousy that you only have 5? Like, imagine making the movie and then being like, let's make a trailer of it. And thinking, shit, I can't really find more than 5 scenes that are worth showing. No, but just be vague. No, but even the vague ones suck.
Yeah.
So I thought sometimes the quality might affect it, but it has to be also that people want it and they want it now. And I want to see if I'm going to like it before I go. Well, I don't know. Not liking it was sort of the chance that you took. Sort of like, I don't know, gambling. There's no math behind gambling. I don't care what you do or how many metrics you have. It's still the luck of the draw, unless you're fixing shit.
Yeah. Well, I know that when I first started working in movies, I was a storyboard artist, and I worked for a guy named Roger Corman, who was kind of a big schlock movie director. Like he made not bad movies. He made C quality movies. Lots of direct to video, lots of direct to cable, lots of low budget stuff. And one of the things that he would tell us about, because he would teach the young guys like me, because I was like 17, 16 when I was working. And he said he broke the movie down into 2 things. He was like, every movie, whether it's horror or comedy or anything else, you have 7 iconic moments. So when somebody leaves the theater, the 7 things that they're going to be talking about. So every movie that was written, when you're writing it, when you're directing it, you're like, okay, what are people going to be talking about when they leave? And if it's a comedy, it's what are the 7 lines or the jokes. If it's an action movie, it's like, what are the big actions? If it's a horror movie, what are the big scares or, kills? And then he also said, you also need 7 trailer moments. And they're not necessarily the same thing. And so you need 7 trailer moments in the movie, because that is what you're going to build your trailer on to introduce people to get them to go. And so it was this, so I always thought about, like when I was working in films in the 90s, I always thought about that, when I got into writing and things like that, It's like, okay, well, what are the things I want people to talk about? You know, when they leave, what are they going to be talking about? And then when the editor's putting the trailer together, what am I telling him to look for? And I think those skills are gone now. Like, people don't think about that. You know, they're just, you know, it's storytelling's a lot different now because of people's attention spans.
It's almost like a chase scene, an explosion scene. It doesn't just mean the biggest explosion is the best one. You know, it's carefully orchestrated. Even a conversation. You know, it has that. You can't have too many words. You can't have too little words. And I think that the attention span, like, how do you get a point across when you don't have the time given to you to get it across? You know, I'm surprised that there have been, those movies that win all the Oscars that are heavy movies, but you can't deny that they're fabulous. You're just wondering, I kind of really want to watch it right now. You know, I'm more of a fun. I'd rather look at something that is more remarkable in different ways, because, you know, life is beautiful. I don't need to be reminded about how it's beautiful in that way. But I think that, you know, how do we get that back? You know, like, how do we, you know, is it a contagion that has to be let out to the masses to get them to, you know, it's weird to think that with everything that can microanalyze and with the microanalysis that goes on, that there is such little analysis. I'm wondering, where is the disconnect? Like, if people do not see things that are clearly right in front of their faces, I think it's amazing, but yet nothing can get by them. It's really weird. It's like you have eyes within your eyes, and those eyes are blindfolded, but the bigger eye isn't, in a weird way.
Yeah, it's, you know? The interesting thing is, and I know this from you know, being a marketing person and doing business and stuff, is our generation really is forgotten and ignored in terms of business and sales and marketing. And it's weird because we're actually the most powerful spending group right now. We're the smallest generation, but we control, it's something like 65% directly of all spending is Gen X. And indirectly, it's like 80% because we're giving money to our kids and we're giving money to parents and stuff like that. So we control the money. We also spend 30% of our money recreationally. But nobody is marketing to us. You know, like, they're not building movies specifically for us. When they do, they're huge. Because, you know, they end up making shit tons of money because the people that have the money are going and spending it. But they're marketing to younger and younger audiences. And those audiences don't have money and they don't have attention spans. So they're trying to figure out how to capture all that. And they're working like 3 times as hard, when if they just aim it at us, you know, we'll give them money.
I mean, yeah, we see the value in things.
They give us a boob, we'll give them money.
Yeah, I mean, we're the 5%ers. And by that we means, look, was it worth 5% worth my time? Then I can make it back. It's like my nickel on the drink, you know, on the can. You know, can I get my nickel back? All right. Did I get 5% of what I was looking for in terms of that? Because you could get a lot from the 5%. It depends on what your expectations are. I think that we've learned to adjust our expectations in order to get as close to them as possible, and not just, you know, sometimes, oh, well, that's a terrible thing, I'm never going to watch it, or I expect it to be even better than it was last time. Well, no, now I'm thinking, well, I'm going to lower my expectations and just enjoy it for what it is, a B movie. You know, it's like buying a Schlitz. I'm not going to really care about the beer's bouquet. You know, I'm just wondering, is it have more than 5% alcohol? Yeah, you know, you remember? I just have to say, because no one can ever remember this movie, and I'm just going to bring it out there. And if you don't remember it, it doesn't mean anything. But Midnight Madness, it had Stephen Furst.
Midnight Madness.
Weird Al was a rich guy who was paying people to go around, and it was some sort of like a scavenger hunt. And it was...
I don't remember that one.
I love that movie.
From 1980.
And they went to a Pabst Blue Ribbon factory, and part of the movie, they show up there, and then Stephen Furst's character, he just... I don't know if he dives into...
Michael J. Fox's first film appearance.
And I was obsessed with that movie. Obsessed with that movie.
David Naughton from American Werewolf.
That and Up the Creek.
Oh, I remember Up the Creek.
Matheson movie. I love that movie. Talking about boobs for no reason, or maybe for a reason. But those two, I seen those movies in the movie theater with my mother. I was her movie.
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to check this out.
But Midnight Madness, it was. I think if they redid that, it would be a fun. The premise was fun. They were doing a scavenger overnight, and Weird Al was the bankroller or something, and he was giving clues over the phone, And whenever I look at a Pabst Blue Ribbon, or if I drink one, it's because of that movie.
That's
no one
funny.
else knows it. So
yeah, I don't
see
remember
me on
that.
the street and I'm drinking a Pabst Blue Ribbon, it's because of that movie.
It's because you just watched the movie, or you're thinking about it. I actually knew. I worked with Stephen first on
was he as fun
a TV show called Babylon 5.
Yeah, no, I remember Babylon 5. Yeah,
great,
it's one of your
dude, like super nice dude.
Your resume is impressive, dude.
Yeah,
you got your hands in a lot of pots there.
I didn't do anything good. I was a
but listen, man, you were part of it.
I was a storyboard artist.
You were part of it. You saw, you got shit in your brain, in the film reels.
I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun as a kid.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in my late teens and my 20s, through my 30s. I got to go all over the world. It was awesome. I mean, it was tons of fun. I worked on a lot of anybody that's followed the lives or whatever. I talk about it all the time, but I've worked on a lot of awful shows, like cheesy shows. None of them were bad. A lot of cheesy movies, but tons of fun. Like nothing that ever won an Oscar.
Yeah, no,
we
but
had some people named Oscar in the movies. I don't know if that counts.
I'm certain that there was a fan base that was sorry to see it go. And look, man, if you could get, I was a teacher and it was difficult getting 25, students' attention spans in a room full of teachers and trying to get there.
That is something. And this is such a weird tangent, but we'll get into some other stuff in a minute. But one of the things that I miss is when I used to tour and do conventions and appearances at stores and stuff, because some of the conventions I'd be in front of 5,000 people. And
that's fun.
I can absolutely tell why rock stars and people like that got onto drugs and alcohol. And it's because you get on stage and it is such a high to be able to, because you're controlling people's reactions. And I like to fuck with people. And so I'm like, okay, if I say this, they're all going to hate me, but I'm going to get them back. And then that whole play, I'm going to say this and they're going to go crazy. I'm going to say this, they're going to boo. I'm going to say this, they're going to laugh and then hate themselves and then laugh again.
Right. Yeah.
And that.
Challenging them, their thinking.
And then when you get off the stage, I remember coming back, I would go and do, 3 or 4 conventions or whatever, come back home, and then I'm at the grocery store and nobody knows who you are. And for me, it's I wasn't an actor. So people didn't know my face. They just knew me from the appearances. But it was always weird. It was it messed with your head because, like I said, if at a convention, I couldn't walk anywhere. I'd have people follow me into the bathroom to ask for autographs and stuff. And then, you go home.
Yeah. And
you're waiting in line for.
And people no one recognizes. No, but how you said about Hawaii and New York, we have experiences and you'll look at those complete opposites, but the tethering, the similarities. You walk around it doesn't seem like a lot, but if you got a school of 500 kids, 600 kids, you walk around the school and especially if they like you, everybody walks around, the teacher's there or the administrator, the principal. But if they like you, you walk around, you do feel that. And I found that you go into the supermarket, the train, subway on the way home, and there's kids, they're looking at me like, who the fuck is this guy? But I'm sitting there, I'm still there like, no, hey, I'm going to tell them, or I can relate to these kids and say, the moment that you open up your mouth to a 17-year-old that is not in a chair in front of you as a student, it's Charlie Brown's fucking teacher. It's the exact opposite. You make no sense. So it's weird finding yourself I kind of like having my words mean something or, or them know you. Know you enough. I guess it's that recognition. So, I feel that, but I can imagine what you're speaking of, that whole crowd, that energy. And then when you multiply it to a stadium full of people.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
How do you replicate that high?
Yeah. But it's again, that's why, and I know my dad, again, for longtime followers, my dad was, he was a guitar player for Bill Haley and the Comets and Johnny Cash and a bunch of other people. And so he was a rock star. And so I remember him telling me about something similar and saying, it was weird because, they would be in front of everybody and they'd get that high. And then there would be some appearances where they weren't allowed to go out. So you would go from that high and then you'd be jammed in a hotel room and you couldn't leave. And so, you're drinking, you're doing drugs, whatever, and, he was explaining why most most, musicians and people like that are alcoholics or use drugs or whatever. And he was like, it's because you're the dichotomy between the two things, like between the real world and your fake stage world it's like there's no way to describe it. Like it's so vastly different. And
they call that congruence. In psychology, they call, now here I am, sorry, but in psychology, we teach that as congruence. You have those differing selves have to be congruent for you to feel at peace with yourself. Otherwise, how do I merge those two together?
Yeah. And, again, I always say that, my experience was different because I was a writer, I wasn't a star. And so what I experienced was super intense. I can't imagine what, Tom Cruise or, Motley Crue or any of or Ozzy Osbourne, what they felt, because mine was intense. And, you're talking about 5,000 people, imagine 100,000 people,
Oof.
Hanging and chanting your name. And like, this all sounds completely narcissistic or whatever, but it's like, it's weird. Like I can't imagine the next step up,
Yeah. No, I mean, I always say if you could do one thing, I'd be a rock star. Why? Just because of that reaction. Just to figure it out. I don't know how they don't trip. Like I get the shakes whenever I would have to teach, whenever I have to speak in front of a crowd. But it's adrenaline, and you use it. But I couldn't imagine. And then plus the supplementals, whatever's making you really jump up high. How they remember to sing, how they don't fall off stage, the edge of it.
Well, it's a lot of that's muscle memory, because even for me,
and then the practice, right? I imagine
I would be terrified, up until, and I did it for 25 years or so. I would go and do appearances, but when I was waiting to go on, I was freaking out every single time, like freaking out. But once I hit the stage and grabbed the mic or was handed the mic, it clicked, and you don't see all the people, but you feel the energy more. But once you get going, it's easy, because then it's like you've done this over and over. The first few times are weird, but yeah, for me the nervousness and all that stuff was up until I hit the stage. Yeah,
once you're on, you're on.
Well, and a lot of times when you're going on, and again, I'm making my thing sound like it was huge, but again, you're talking a couple thousand people. But you go on and you've got people yelling because they're happy to see you. They're there to have a good time. So really, you're there with people that are in a good mood, that are there to have fun. It's hard to lose that, unless you say something really stupid. You go off, unless you go Michael Richards and you throw in a racial slur or something.
Oh my God. And then continue on as like shit.
But it's hard. It's hard to completely lose an audience, especially if you've done it over and over and over.
Their memory is you're giving them a good time.
Yeah.
It's just he had a bad day. And it's it goes a long way of not being a dick.
Yeah.
At least
sure, if that's your thing. People, if you double down into it, you can be a dick.
Billy Bob. Famous. I don't know. I don't mean to. I'm not poking. I think he's a brilliant actor, but he was always so grumpy. And after a while, I was like, you know what? I kind of like it. So I saw him speaking all normal. I was like, what the hell? Why isn't he miserable? Like, he can't be calm, and non-disgruntled. I want him to be disgruntled. He can't be gruntled, whatever the opposite of disgruntled is.
I think it should be gruntled.
Yeah, he wears it better, he wears it better.
Well, let's head back around to the 80s. Diane Keaton passed away this past week.
Yeah.
Which was out of nowhere. I mean, she was one of those people that I mean, I remember seeing her in the news, even in the last 6 months or so, and I thought she looked fine, but you never know. And she was, what was she in her late 60s, late 60s, or 60s, I keep saying, 70s.
She was
late 70s.
Pushing 80. I believe
she was 80.
She one shy away of 80. She was 79.
But she didn't.
They're all at that level.
She had a patent on the turtleneck, the hat, and glasses, and giant smile.
And the bangs.
Yeah. And I mean, she was another classic, 70s, 80s, 90s actress, and another one that I never thought would go. And it's weird to see them pass,
It's weird, scary. And I guess it's people that you feel like you know them. Like every celebrity has a last name to me. Like it's Brad Pitt. George Clooney, Diane Keaton, Jack Nicholson. People call them Jack or whatever, but I was just amazed. I remember Diane Keaton being amazed. I saw The Godfather later in life. There's a few movies that I probably like, oh, how old were you? Oh my God. But
yeah,
I didn't know it was her playing.
Yeah.
That's her. Cause I knew her from Baby Boom.
Yeah. I think that's probably
was,
where the first time I remember her too.
That was the image that I had of her, and then any Woody Allen connections, and so when I found out that was her, like, she was attractive. Not that she wasn't attractive, she was quirky attractive. You know what I mean? But she looked like an older lady, even younger. She had that older look, what I like to call old person face. Man face, woman face. You see the kids who have the same face. You could just like this smaller body, take away the facial hair. But she was a model. Like gorgeous. And
she was gorgeous.
To think that she went, man. Now I'm feeling my age. Because I'm thinking, shit.
I think that's where a lot of us probably remember her from is Baby Boom, or later on, like Father of the Bride, because she was in that. Look Who's Talking, right? First Wives Club. I can't think of what else. I'm blanking.
First Wives Club. Something's Got to Give.
And then, and then the older crowd know her from like Annie Hall, Looking for Mr. Goodbar, the Godfather movies, all that stuff. Played Against Sam.
You forget how long she spanned, because Godfather was the 70s.
Yeah.
So, my God, 70,
yeah,
80,
72, 90, right?
2010. And she would have, if she was like some celebrities, she would have had another 10 years. She wasn't retired. She was flipping houses, apparently. Wow. Hugely successful.
I would have bought a house from her.
She was an expert, or I didn't read the articles completely. It was just they start flooding everything with everything Diane Keaton. I'm like, well, that would have been interesting before, knowing that she did flip houses, but I would imagine it's luxury houses.
Well, it's a real estate is where a lot of the celebrities end up keeping. That's how they keep their money.
Yeah. It's real.
It's so easy to blow it.
Madoff. The next Madoff is around the corner, and who got hit? What celebrity? It was it Kevin Bacon? Kevin Bacon and Kyrgyz. I think they got hit really hard with Madoff. They had they had something like an enormous amount of their portfolio in his hands, and they were like, "Fuck." But two great people. But back to
they have a fun Instagram, or they have a fun social media presence, because Kevin follows me too, and
is he fun? Have you ever mingled with him at all? He seems like such a fun guy.
My 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon is Michael Gross, because I worked on the Trimmers TV show.
There was a kangaroo in my living room. I'll never forget that episode of Family Ties. I'm sorry. A broken dish, spilled milk. There was a kangaroo in my living room. I'm sorry. I had to do that. I have to do that every time.
Kevin Bacon's
Go
awesome.
ahead, please.
Absolutely. Tons of fun.
The way he
looks
walks.
like he's having fun. He looks like he's having fun.
I want to hang out with him. He's that type of guy, want to hang out with him.
I've seen his band. He and his brother have a band.
Well, I remember listening to Howard Stern years ago, and he was on it. And, Howard Stern was always goofy, always funny. And he goes, no, well, my brother musicians. And he goes, you're a musician? And he said something about, they wrote that jingle, Poland Spring. Poland. And Howard Stern starts saying, I love that's my favorite thing. He starts singing it. But the Bacon Brothers, that was, before it was coming out, but that was supposedly the jingle, and they were doing this. And he was like, really, you could tell like the excitement in his voice. Like, no, really, it's really about our music. And you're thinking, oh, come on, you're an actor. You're freaking Footloose.
Yeah.
Thinking, like I want to be something more. But yeah, no, they seem like a lot of fun people. That's cool that he follows you. And,
if you don't follow him on Instagram, it's like his stuff's a lot of fun. He does stuff I think almost every day. It's him out on
walking and saying stuff
on his ranch, and he does like a musical Monday or a blues Monday or something that's pretty funny.
Yeah,
but it just looks like he's having a good time, and Kira Sedgwick's with him.
It's amazing. With 30 years,
it's awesome. Yeah, it's looks like they're having fun. And that's great to see, because again, so many people are angry now about everything, and it's like he's just having fun.
And they have a lot of
a good time.
Reason to be angry, and for them to be fun like that.
But come on, if you're Kevin Bacon, you have a lot of reasons to have fun. He's done a lot of great stuff. He's had a good time. You have ups and downs, but but yeah, follow him on Instagram. It's a good happy spot, and it's always fun. Cool. So I don't know where else to go from this. Go ahead.
No. You know what I was going to say?
Take it away.
She was in that movie. Hell, the Reds. She was in Reds. Was Diane Keaton in Reds?
I don't know. I'm looking it up right now. Yeah, she was.
I remember it was a dud. Me and my mom went to see it, and we were like, "What the hell is this?" Because for like a 7-year-old and a woman.
That's a rough one for a 7-year-old.
I mean, I got into Out of Africa, a little bit into it. A different, not a Diane Keaton movie, but a different type of vibe. When I went in there, like, oh, Africa, I thought it was going to be about like lions attacking people, or something like, the Greystone.
That's funny.
Tarzan.
Reds is a rough one.
She was a journalist. She was swept in during the Revolution or something like that. So I don't know why it popped into my head. So it was because I think of Red Dawn. I was like, she wasn't in Red Dawn. I almost misspoke. I was going to say she's in Red Dawn, and people have been like, "What kind of?"
That would have been a different movie.
Are you thinking? Completely. If Diane Keaton was in it,
have her yelling "Wolverines," adjusting her hat.
That was before Dirty Dancing, right? Red Dawn.
Red Dawn. Yeah.
Because they were brother and sister. Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey and Red Dawn.
I don't remember. I know they didn't like each other. They didn't get along because Patrick Swayze is a lot older. Like, people don't realize how much older he was.
Yeah,
because he was
a grown man in The Outsiders.
Yeah, and he he was 30 in 1980. He was born in 1950 or something.
Yeah,
so he was significantly older.
And he had man face.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like his face is the same. Like, there would have been a 1-year-old, like with that same. Yeah. He might have had a 5 o'clock shadow. He had like that chiseled Jack Palance type of, hard cheekbone.
It's funny because he's
really dramatic.
His first big notice where people saw him was a Pabst Blue Ribbon commercial from 1979. Really? He's doing a take on Saturday Night Fever, and it's about this guy getting ready to go to the disco. And it's him getting ready, drinking a Pabst, heading out down the street, strutting down the street, and then going and disco dancing like John Travolta. And it's a Pabst Blue Ribbon commercial. It's from 79. I've posted it a couple times, but look it up. It's pretty funny. And then after that, he was in Skate Town, USA, which was like the skate version of Saturday Night Fever. That was so bad that they tried to pay to get it not distributed.
To get it away.
And then he was in a show called Renegades, which was essentially what happens after it was essentially a ripoff of the movie The Warriors. It was about a gang of fit dudes that wore leather vests that ended up working for the police. So it's like, what if the Warriors joined 21 Jump Street? And that was what he did before Red Dawn.
50-year-old memory. I haven't thought. I haven't thought about that, but I remember Renegades, and it's a faint thing. I think you got me by a couple.
It
of
only
years,
lasted one season, I think. And it wasn't a bad show, but it got canceled. I'll do another name drop for you, but my Patrick Swayze interaction was very brief. I was living in LA, in the San Fernando Valley. I was living in North Hollywood, and there was a Fry's there. Fry's Electronics. It was like a Best Buy. And so I'm in there, and I'm walking around, and I go to check out, and there's Patrick Swayze, and this was in 2001. So his career was nowhere. He was he wasn't doing anything. His career was pretty much dead. A lot of people, they remember him being super popular, but his career died in the 90s, post Ghost and To Wong Fu, he did it because he needed the money. But anyway, so there's Patrick Swayze and his brother. I think his brother's name was Dan Swayze, who looks like the meth version of Patrick Swayze. So if you bought Patrick Swayze on Temu or Wish, or Patrick Swayze had a bunch of meth. He was
a bit actor, right? He was on an episode of Matlock. He was the guy on the stand. He played a mentally...
He's been in a mentally
challenged individual
thing.
And I remember being is that Patrick Swayze?
Yep, he's the meth Patrick Swayze. So anyway, they're there, and nobody's noticing that it's Patrick Swayze, because again, this is 2001. It's Hollywood. It's just outside of Hollywood, so there's actors all the time. Nobody's noticing him. And Dan starts making noises just really loud. And so people are looking, and then somebody says, "Oh, it's Patrick Swayze." But it was from Dan,
from Dan.
I don't know, like having a tuberculosis attack or something, and getting everybody's attention so they notice Patrick, and then he gets like 3 or 4 people go over and like, oh, you're Patrick. But it was just that's my connection to Patrick Swayze.
Man, hey, but those are real moments, man. You know,
a couple long.
And how real of a moment too. Hey, but look, there you go. There's the brother looking out for him. You know, trying to make certain like.
But yeah, a lot of people forget that Patrick Swayze's career died post Ghost, really, and he was not getting roles. He ended up getting a role like right when he died in a show called The Beast, which he was like a corrupt cop. I want to say in Louisiana or something like that. It was in its 2nd season when he passed because he had cancer, right?
Beast.
I think it was called The Beast, and it was. I remember it being a really
late 2000s.
It was early mid 2000s when he passed. I think. I would say like maybe 2007, 2008, somewhere around there. I don't know what early 2000s is.
Yeah, I don't even.
That's hard.
I didn't know what to call it either. Because isn't everything 2000s?
Yeah, that's what
like when I think of the 1900s, I don't think of 1900 to 1909. I think of 1900 to 1999. So I'm trying to figure out now what's the vernacular.
But yeah, so The Beast was and he was like up for. I want to say he was up for an Emmy or something for it because it was it was bringing his career back. And then people were like, well, everybody loved Roadhouse. Nobody loved Roadhouse when it came out. It helped kind of kill his career a little bit.
Right.
Like we remember
I love
now.
It, and I loved it. I loved it when I saw it. I love it now. But when you look at it, it's cheesy.
Well, the thing that helped bring Roadhouse back was Family Guy. The Family Guy bits brought back, oh yeah, Roadhouse.
Yeah.
But
and then of course Sam Elliott. He became the meme god because he never aged.
He's so
recently.
Absolutely glorious.
Yeah, he's still kick my ass. He'll beat me in an arm wrestle. I mean, not that that's saying much, but I'm saying, what they say about, he's old. Yeah, he's old. I don't know, man. He's fucking cool, and he's got the coolest voice also.
Yeah, great voice, great hair.
And he looks great with or without a mustache. Usually people without their signature mustaches they all look weird, right? When you take off a signature mustache. Like Tom Selleck, I don't know about it. I got used to it for a little bit, but I was thinking I could rock it, man, when he was in the Hulk. Sam Elliott without the mustache, and he's got that huge, gigantic, the Austrian divot.
He started off without the mustache too, back in the 70s and stuff. He didn't have the mustache, so he started off early on without the mustache. And sometimes he'd be scruffy, but he didn't have the stash. But yeah, he looks good. He looks good no matter what. Fucker, hate that dude.
Cool ass voice. I'm like, are you making that voice? Because people have to make that voice to sound cool. Yours is just like that,
Going off on a completely, we'll end it here in a minute, but he's got the voice that you want for Batman. Instead of they get guys with weak voices, and it's Michael Keaton's fault. And I love Michael Keaton as Batman, so let's not, but he did his Batman voice. And then after that, everybody that did Batman did their Batman voice. It's like, why don't you just get a guy that has that voice? Then you don't have to fake it.
Right, because there might be a whole persona that goes with that voice. That's just.
I'd rather have them fake the Bruce Wayne voice since Bruce Wayne is fake. He's not, Batman is Batman, and then the fake character is Bruce Wayne.
Right.
So give me a fake Bruce Wayne voice, but give me a real Batman voice. But everybody does that. With their "Hey, I'm Batman." They do their Kathleen Turner impression, is what it is.
I was screaming last night at a concert. Let me try to. Those people who don't know how to whisper. You're thinking. That's the person. That's the person. Oh man!
So you got anything else for us?
What do I got?
Anything you want to talk about?
I would love to thinking of Candy, and in that route, I'm thinking that I would love to see something being done like that on Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
I don't know if it could be about Pryor going deeper into him, because a lot of people, you don't see the stuff that he did prior to being the Richard Pryor that we know. He sang. He had that controversy. I don't know if it's real that he had some show that he sort of told the race line, and they didn't really like the fact that he was doing things, so then they canceled him. And maybe this might be coming from a selfish place, but I love the Pryor Wilder movies. I don't know. Look deep into it. Were they as good of friends as they say they were?
Weren't.
How deep was
they
it?
They didn't like each other.
Right?
Or they weren't. It's not that they didn't like each other, but they weren't friends. They were
right.
They worked together and they had amazing chemistry.
And they were great actors, apparently.
Yeah,
really, to their testament.
I know that they've had a Gene Wilder documentary. I haven't seen it, but I've seen it pop up on either Netflix or I want to say HBO Max. Maybe it's on one of the things. But there is a Gene Wilder one. I haven't seen one on Richard Pryor.
Yeah, I want to do that. And if I can add before I forget, what do I got? I think that there might be a resurgence. On 3 separate occasions over the last, I want to say, 2-3 weeks. Now, 3 times does not make a fad trend or an inevitability, but 3 times is the charm. I've seen people carrying the old school boom boxes.
Yeah, I've got one.
Radio.
I've got a really good one. You can't see it, but I've got one on the shelf right here. It's got a tape deck. It's got a VHS, or not a VHS, a CD, and it's Bluetooth, but it's metal, and it's like heavy duty. And I got it on. I'm gonna say I got it on Amazon, but it looks like an old school, like real boombox, like not a.
Looks like you have 2 tires. The old school ones used to look like you had 2 tires, all metal, and it was some weight, and
But yeah, I've got one. It's a little smaller. It's probably 2.5, maybe not quite 3 feet, but it's a good size, and I love it. And it rocks tapes, it rocks Blu-ray now. So
you got to get those. That has to come with it. People are like, it's not. I don't want one from the 1970s unless it's vintage, and I have it from the 1970s. I want one that looks it, replicating it, the style, and the modern technology
and good sound.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and God knows what my tapes are like. That magnetic strip really fades. Especially, it's like, keep it in the attic. The attic, it's cold and
I've got a bunch of tapes. They still run. So they still run. I don't know what the cutoff is, but I was listening to, I did a video a couple weeks ago that had me playing the Belinda Carlisle, Blue Heaven. But I had it in the, I did like an ASMR video where I popped it into the boombox and played it and stuff. But you know what's interesting about that stuff is, and I think I've talked about this, maybe it was just in a live, but I have a weird connection with physical media that I never realized. It's when I watch something streaming or I'm streaming music or whatever, I'm never completely there. Like if I'm watching, even when I'm watching a movie, I'll be on my phone sometimes or doing other stuff. And, the movie's playing in the background, even if it's something I want to watch. I started watching stuff on Laserdisc, and just so you guys know, Laserdisc quality sucks. I mean, it's better than a VHS, but it's still pretty shitty. But anyway, I'm watching a Laserdisc. I watched Bachelor Party on Laserdisc, and I found myself completely enthralled. I didn't pick up my phone once. I just sat there and watched the entire movie. And I also found the same thing because I'm rebuilding my vinyl record collection, and I popped on Tears for Fears songs from the Big Chair, and I ended up just sitting there and listening to the whole album. I didn't skip ahead. I didn't do anything else really, but I was focused on listening to the songs and listening to them in order as they're kind of supposed to be heard. And then I popped on like a Hall & Oates album, and then I popped on like Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell.
Just listen to Meatloaf for the first time in 20 years. Asked Alexa to play it yesterday. I'm sorry, but Kindred Spirit.
But it's like I listened to the entire album and I was focused on the physical media. So there's something, I don't know if it's maybe trained from when I was a kid and we used to do that, but I have a lot more awareness and focus on whatever I'm listening to or watching, if it's physical media versus streaming. And it's really weird because, like I said, with Bachelor Party, I figured that would have been one I would have been doing something else, and because I've seen it so many times. But I ended up just sitting there, with my drink, watching the movie. And then 2 hours later, it's done. And I'm like, holy shit, I didn't check social media. And, that's what I do all day long. And I was just so enthralled. And I think there's I don't know if it's the ceremony. I don't know what it is. But there's something about physical media where I'm more present with whatever it is. And with the albums, for sure. Because there's no way I would sit there and load up a Spotify playlist of a whole album and listen to it.
Yeah, you would say shuffle, or you'd be done after one because you think I can't
pick one or two best songs
in order.
But yeah, I was listening to everything, and
now
I did it a bunch of times.
You're thinking of the tactile nature of it, right? The placing it in, putting it, hitting, all that. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Knowing that I'm doing something,
right? Like
this is what I'm doing, and it's this.
It's almost like the when it's on TV. when it's already on, I want to watch it, and I'm going to watch it to the end. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm sitting there. It doesn't matter what movie it is. Even with commercials, the movie's more enjoyable when you go through that sort of, we were talking muscle memory before. Right, yeah. And I love it when, I caught it. Oh, man, I caught it right at the end, or I caught it in the beginning. But yeah, no, streaming it's difficult.
Yeah, it's just really weird.
It's.
But I think that's what killed a lot of the attention span, is being able to skip ahead. It's like, let's just skip the boring part of this movie. It's like, well, that's part of the story. Ad-free. That's part of the thing.
Ad-free. Yeah. I'm like, well, the ads allow me to pee. Allowed me to get a drink. Allowed me to blow my nose.
So I'm going to need to go pee a couple times.
Yeah. And I hate DVR. Oh, you can rewind it. Nah, man. Not that I hate it. Like even when people say, well, just walk. No, I kind of don't want it. I still want to run. And I don't want to watch it 15 minutes late so I could just sit there and then fast forward through all the commercials. I want to watch it live. You ever, just going off, I just want to know what your opinion is. People who, they record sports, and then they watch it later, but they know the end. I'm like, how the hell are you going to do that? I got to go watch that game, or
Okay, so you have to remember a couple things. Hawaii, we had no sports teams, but we were also 5 hours behind the East Coast. So what they would do is, you guys, the sports, like the football game or the baseball game would be finished by the time it was ready for us to play. And usually the news was first. So the news would say, okay, we're gonna show the sports scores. If you don't want to know, if you're gonna watch it later, look away from the screen. Right. And then they would run all the sports scores like at 6 p.m. or whatever, the early news was, 5 p.m. And then they would show all the sports scores quiet, like in dead silence. And then they would say, okay, it's safe to look. And then
all right.
But we always had the sports late because that's just how TV worked, back, pre-cable and stuff like that, and it was just network TV. We had the delay because we're 5 hours behind,
That's cool. And, so I never thought of that.
Or 6 hours behind, I guess. Something like that.
You're experiencing things completely different sometimes, though you're part of.
Yeah, so we, I remember my dad would be like, okay, don't tell me anything. And then he would look away. Because he's from Philadelphia, so he was always, he's a Phillies fan, Eagles fan, but so we would have to turn away if you didn't want to know.
Yeah, I haven't thought about that. Yeah. Hey, man, TV was finite. Just made me think of, there was a time when TV would be closed. The TV's closed now. Go to fucking sleep. What's wrong with you?
Go to bed. Yeah. Well, it's interesting is that a lot of the streaming services have live versions of, they have a live stream as well. And a lot of our generation, instead of watching VOD, instead of watching video on demand, a lot of us are actually watching the live streams, which are at a certain time, like you want to go watch Magnum PI, you can go to Tubi, and there's a Magnum PI, that comes on every day at from 5 to 8 or whatever, there's 3 episodes.
I am guilty of that.
Yeah,
I am guilty of the Love Boat.
But it's
on Pluto.
It's we like that. We like the knowing that it's going to sound pathetic, but it's we like knowing that somebody else is in charge and has set this time up, and that's when we're supposed to be there. Then we go and watch
exactly.
it.
Yeah. Like someone who cooks for you. The sandwich always tastes better when someone else makes it.
And
it doesn't matter.
But it's
what
just
the chef
weird,
looks like.
and we like it. And I've heard that from so many. It's thousands and thousands of people on social media. It's oh yeah, I like to go and watch it. I watch Magnum PI or whatever the show is every day. Every Thursday I go and I watch my Magnum PI. Well, you can just grab it anytime you want. And they're like, it's on Thursdays. It's supposed to be on, or it's on. I watch it on Sunday because that's the day it used to be on.
Yeah, Miami Vice on Friday nights. I think my memory serves me
Love
correct.
Boat.
It was Miami Friday. Love Boat.
Fantasy Island. All those were
right afterward.
Different time periods.
Yeah.
Miami Vice
it's so
was
weird.
Fridays.
I remember wanting to be tattooed. Didn't matter that he was a dwarf or a midget. It doesn't matter any of that. I was like, oh man, a little suit. That's the 80s right there. That's tattoo. Herbie Velasquez, to be tattooed.
I've never heard anybody say that. Well, maybe one day you can grow down to be tattoo. I mean, the older you get, the smaller you get. So
I'm a 6'2" tattoo.
You're going. But in 5 years you'll be 6'1.5". So
Bone loss, there is that.
You'll make it happen. Yeah. You'll make it happen one day.
Exactly. My spine is determined.
Cool. Hey, I think we're going to wrap it up now.
All right. Yeah,
so we'll be back next week. Max and I will be hanging out again next week. Let's see. What else did I say here? Wednesdays, trivia on Instagram, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. Make sure to check it out. 5 p.m. Eastern. No, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Math's hard. And follow me. And what are your socials? We'll pop them up. If you want to say your socials. If not, I'll just put them in the links down below so everybody can follow you too.
Wait, you can edit. So it's a work in progress. Progress.
Coming soon.
I don't want to lead anybody to, something that they're not.
Which is what my girlfriend's always told me, but it never happened. Coming soon.
Still waiting.
Still waiting.
It's like they're building the station in 6 months. The train will be here soon. No, I have two handles. One is through Old School Dies on Instagram. It's my journey through the things that I'm seeing as I go around New York City. It's a little bit of an artsy side of me. Then I got Old School Automobiles, and when I come across a car, preferably from the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
What was your first car?
My first car. The one that I drove, or the one that was actually mine that I had to drive?
First car
was a Buick Regal. It was a 19 I want to say 90, I think, a 1990 Buick Regal. Used, obviously, and my pops got it for me when after I turned 18 and became driving of age. And the thing was the long story short, don't trust used car salesmen, even if you know them. But the thing was just a dud lemon. First car, that velvet interior. You know how everything was velvet? I remember having the transmission that had the handle. You had an extra seat in the middle, that long sort of carriage seat. It was fantastic. A little Buick Regal going around. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And I was a smoker at the time, so the shit was polka dot with cigarette holes, and the velvet is unforgiving. You had that. If you had that plastic, you could drop it on it and it would just bounce off. This shit would stick on it like a flare. So I'd be like, shit. But that was my first car. But before that, I destroyed a Buick LeSabre that my father lent. Such a kind. Yeah.
Mine was and again, it was an 88, 89 that my parents got it for me. I had a 72 Dodge Dart in brown.
It's a fucking beautiful car, dude.
It was a boat.
It's a beautiful car. I think I posted
we didn't think it at the time. It was a 1972 Dodge Dart.
Man, those things are revered, man. If you could get your hand, but I could understand at the time.
Not in 1988. Not in 1988.
1988
in
was
Hawaii.
a Dart. I think Mr. Dukes in my building had a Dart, and he was like an 85-year-old. He looked like Grandpa from the Munsters. But the Dart, dude, 72 Dart. That is nice.
Huge car. Yeah, that thing was ginormous. And the doors.
What car was it back then?
About half a ton. The doors weighed about half a ton. So,
you got your hand caught in that freaking thing. You broke it. That was.
But all my friends were like, "Who's gonna drive?" And I'd be like, "I can drive." They were like, "Nah, I don't think so." Somebody else.
No. We want to meet people and. No, but hey, dude, it's better than having your legs or sneakers. So you had wheels, dude. And back then, wheels are wheels, man.
Yeah. Well, my parents promised me a car before that. It had me save up $2,000, and then they helped me buy a moped. And I was a fat kid. I was about 340 pounds. And they bought me a little tiny moped and a giant white helmet. So I had a giant ping pong ball looking helmet. Fat kid on a little red Spree. I think it was a Honda Spree. Little tiny. It didn't go very fast because it had a lot of weight on it.
But it didn't break down. That motor. They don't make things the way they used to. But
when I got on it, it wept though. It did cry. I had never heard a machine cry before I got on it. I think I'm going to end it there, dude. Hey, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope everybody had fun. We'll be back next week. I don't know what we're going to talk about. We'll talk about something.
We're going to talk about something fun, and I won't say as many times if I did.
It's easy to do. Cool. So thank you, sir, and we will see you next week.